Why not?
3, 2.
Why not?
We should have outtakes or something.
Outtakes or intakes?
Yep.
This is Through a Therapist's Eyes. Hello, those of you out there on YouTube Live. Welcome to Through a Therapist's Eyes on Thursday nights live. We have got, well, shoot, Neil, I guess maybe we won't make really a live announcement yet. How are we? Come on. We got to make this, buzz this up yet. No, he's shaking his head.
Well, we have time to discuss it.
We have time to discuss it. I'm thinking the time is now to announce. All right, I'm messing with producer Neil's head right now. If you're finding us for the first time, seriously, on YouTube, we do this on Thursday nights live. Today is the June month in review. We're going to review the shows that we did in June, which related to religion and mental health parallels, and also a program that we're all super excited about here called This Will Not Defeat Me After Sexual Abuse. So that's kind of what we're talking about today. 6:15 rather is 6:15, I should say 6:15 to 6:30 is when we usually kind of kick the mics up to see when we go live. This is before the show, mics turn hotter for what you find on Spotify and Apple iTunes, all that kind of stuff. So we will fire that part up here in a minute as he types and gets all things set up. Welcome back, sir. Did you have a good month?
Did.
Yeah. It's hot, though.
Really hot.
Is it the Canadian smoke that's going on now again? Somebody told me it's back. That's what's made it hazy?
Well, you know it was 8.2 million acres, right?
I don't know what's going on. I was I thought that was done.
No, well,
to have it come back again was like shocking to me today. I didn't know it was happening.
I don't think you're going to put out 8.2 million acres very quickly anyway.
Is that what's burned though? Well, shit. I mean, it's had to have been burned through. I mean, it can't be.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen.
Yeah,
I should have rabbit holed on that. But,
there you go.
But I didn't.
You should have rabbit hole. Is
that
going to be the expression now whenever I'm hanging out with Mr. Clarner? Yep. Hey, we're going to rabbit hole on his. Hey, we're going to rabbit hole that. You'll understand, listening audience, what that means in a minute. But, yeah, I just wasn't I was just surprised that was back. I thought that was done.
It did look a little hazy today.
It was really definitely hazy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was because of community or whatever, but a client told me today that the Canadian smoke, I guess the wind's changed and it's bad. Poor breathing quality.
What do you think, Neil? What was it? Canadian smoke?
Is that legal in Canada?
Yes,
different kind of smoke.
Actually, I believe it is.
Different kind
I think
of
it is too.
I think it is.
Is weed legal in Canada?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, you ready?
Oh, we're not going to have fun talking. I was having fun. He's cutting me off, everybody. I guess we need to fire up.
I'm the killjoy today.
Here we
obviously.
go.
Continue to have a show. Continue to have fun on a normal show.
Never mind. Here we go. Yes, sir. We're ready.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, this is Through a Therapist's Eyes on June the 29th, 2023. We join you here for the June month in review. We have the man behind the curtains in front, Mr. Neil Robinson. How are you, man?
Good. How are you?
Yeah. Pretty good today. It's a weird day of very limited no-show, cancel, summer schedule therapy, actually.
I like when meetings get canceled and you get freedom. It's like you get. It's nice to have that change of pace.
I literally watched Saving Private Ryan today in my office, if that tells you anything. That's a long movie, too. Now, in fairness, I picked it up about a third of the way through it was on. But, yeah, that's how it was. How are you, Mr. Adam Kleininger, back with us this week?
I'm good.
Yep?
Yep.
Got to be more exciting than that.
Growing tomatoes.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Growing tomatoes. What else got?
I don't think those are tomatoes.
What do you mean?
The small tomatoes aren't really tomatoes.
They're called yellow pear tomatoes.
Baby tomatoes. And they're babies.
No.
Tomatoes, you want big honking things you could put knives in and cut and make big sandwiches out of and stuff. Man, these little baby tomatoes are, no.
No, the small ones are for salads. The big ones are for sandwiches, definitely.
The big ones you can cut up and put into salads also.
You can, but...
Wedge tomatoes in salads.
Yeah, I guess you could do that.
Slices on sandwiches.
My fancy smancy lawnmowers on the blink again.
Oh.
Different issue, though.
Gee.
Different issue.
Dude, I'm going to buy you a new damn lawnmower. I'm sorry. I'm done with this.
Yeah, okay, do that.
I'm done with this. Getting you a new lawnmower. So what do we say here? This is Through a Therapist's Eyes, where you get insights and thoughts about the mental health and substance abuse world directly from a panel of therapists. On the month in review, we kind of talk about what we talked about through the week. Through a Therapist's Eyes, Re-Understanding Emotions and Becoming Your Best Self is the book that I put out, and it is not going to be alone for very long out in the world. Adam, you
Got a second book
motivated
coming
me,
out.
man. You motivated me.
Oh, good.
I was like, I cannot let 2023 end without, getting the book I've been slow cooking. So it's going to be on marriage, and I have given myself the deadline with the editor because she wants to edit it in August. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a deadline now.
So was this a January goal you had to have the book for the end of the year?
It became kind of a goal when you said it should be a goal. To be
Because
honest with
if you don't do it for the end of the year, you're a failure.
I'm not going to be a failure. I will not fail. I'm actually almost done with it, but I do need to finish it. And I thought I was going to finish with what I had, and then I found I had more content to put in it. So actually, it is going to be a bit of a push. Contact it through a Therapist's Eyes is the great way to kind of contact us with it, interact with us. Listen, this is the human emotional experience, which we endeavor to figure out together.
Question.
I can't deviate from our current conversation. We'll have to come back to it.
It's what you're just talking about, though.
Well, actually, we're not even at a conversation yet, so yeah, sure. I was just trying to be a smart aleck.
Yeah, you're good at it.
I am not that
so
good.
Did you actually say, or do you actually know what the actual title of the new book's going to be?
No, we'll have to go through the editor process and
Got the
the
cover or anything,
publisher
or?
and all kind. No, none
No
of that
sneak
has
peek
started.
for anything?
None
Okay.
of that has started.
Okay.
Yeah, so whether, in matter of fact, when it'll be out, my goal would hopefully be that. See, that's the slow process, though, man. To work with a publisher, do all that.
I remember
side
last
of it,
time.
Oh man, it's wicked
Yeah.
slow. So I'm hoping it will be out by Christmas, but I probably failed because I pushed it back.
We
too
could
long.
probably do a whole show
So
on
that's
your
August,
your
September,
process
October,
of doing
November.
the book.
So that's like that's only 3 months. I don't know that'll be enough time.
You might have a race with my kid. I'm pushing him to finish his book by the end of before he goes back to school.
Oh, the race is
So
on.
he's like 38,000 words or something. He does 1,000 words a day now. If he doesn't do it every word he gets less than 1,000, he's grinding from technology a minute.
Your kid has a book with 30,000 words.
37,000, 38,000 now.
Okay, that's just trippy weird, dude.
How you know he actually reads them?
Do what?
How you know he actually reads the words?
Oh no, he uses Google Docs to count where he started, and basically you can select and do word count.
Google Docs. Now he has just done a Chat GPT book.
Oh no, he's writing it. Literally, he's been working on it for about 8-9 months.
said
But
that
yeah, so
in jest.
yeah, he hates actually AI. I've talked to him about it, using it for some of his other projects, and he's like, "I'm never going to use AI. It's horrible. It's the worst thing ever." Blah blah blah. So he likes the idea of actually doing the writing.
Let me forward us along. We are going to do the month in review show, which, as you know by now, if you've been joining us, it begins off with the now named Rabbit Hole.
Rabbit Hole, yep.
We are going to play Rabbit Hole. Mr. Cloninger, take it away, brother. What do you got?
All right, so with Rabbit Hole, what I basically do is whatever I've come up with in the month, something that just I thought was of interest, I keep it in the back of my mind, come back and give it to Chris and Neil and see what they have to say about it. So the thing I have to talk about today is I'm wondering, and I'm really hoping that y'all haven't done a show on this already, because if you haven't, I think you need to. Have you ever heard of rage rooms?
I have. I think
you
I
heard of
have.
rage
I
rooms?
think I have.
No, only I can think of with Rage Room is like a card tournament where it's a bunch of geeks that lose and they get mad at each other and flip over tables. So no, I have not heard of a Rage Room.
Okay,
That's pretty much what it is, if I'm thinking
Yeah.
correctly, right?
yeah.
It's
So this is how it started. So a guy I work with showed me a video on his phone, and it's a guy in a room, and he's got like a shield on and gloves, and has like a baseball bat, and he's going around the room. He's like smashing a TV and plates, and he's throwing stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, that looks cool. And he says, oh, that's a rage room. And I'm like, a what? A rage room? It's actually getting people, or there's business popping up everywhere.
I could believe it. Is it catching on steam?
It
that
is.
would be fun to
It's really
create
catching
one.
on. So it started, I think it was in 2008 or 2003, and Japan was the first one.
No shit. I wonder if there's a franchise with that. That would be awesome. I would be interested possibly in that, honestly.
Yeah, well, there's
I really would.
there's like several, like 3 or 4 in Charlotte that I know of.
No kidding.
Yeah, but I'm not sure
Oh
it's a
my
good
gosh.
idea.
I think it is. Why would you say that? Well, first of all, tell us what a rage room is.
Okay, so basically it's kind of like I was saying, the guy's in a room. So you pay to go someplace and for a fee, you can go and break stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Not your stuff. They supply the stuff. You break it. Of course, there's a disclaimer you got to sign or whatever. But you go in there and you break stuff. And the thought behind it is you go and find a release, find a way to get your anger out. And I thought it was a good idea at first, but then when I started going down a rabbit hole, I'm not so sure it actually is.
Where did you go down the rabbit hole to find that it is not a good thing? I am going to clinically foreshadow and disagree with the results of your rabbit hole.
Okay, so there is a few people that think that you might be rewarding yourself for having rage.
Okay.
Therefore, it can actually increase your rage.
Okay.
Instead of the release just getting over that. So the couple of little stipulations they had is if you do this type of stuff, you have to focus it on something that you're trying to, like a negative thing. And one example was there's actually a place in Arizona. They have a licensed clinician there.
Okay.
You have to have a therapy session with the person there.
With the rage room session?
And one of the examples they gave was she had this plate and it said, "I'm not good enough."
Right.
So that's one thing you had to put in the room and you had to focus on. You had to destroy that plate.
Right.
I can see that being a good thing, but if you're just going on a regular basis where you're paying a monthly fee and you're going and...
Is there a membership to said rage
there
room?
are memberships, and every video you see on it, they talk about the memberships that's available.
Oh.
I've seen anywhere from $15 to $300 a month.
Well,
interesting.
But wouldn't that be comparable to someone who goes to, like, say, 9 Rounds Boxing or to gym or like some of those places where the physical release is still there? Like you could, because like I said,
and you're doing exercise too.
Yeah, exactly. So I could see the benefit of. I'm with you, Chris. I think that can be like clinically, like that release versus having it bottled up, and you're damaging something that you're not actually hurting someone else. So if you have a lot of pent up aggression or anger towards a significant other, a family member, that may sound weird, but like you're getting it out and you're not harming another person unless you get like a piece of glass in your eye or something. But that's yourself. But I'm with you. I think it'd be a great idea, and I love the fact that there's some that have the clinical side of it too.
That's what really makes me interested. I could take this franchisee thing. Listen, if you have a franchisee opportunity for me, Chris Gazdick, at Through a Therapist Eyes, you need to contact me because I'm very interested in this. Seriously, I do business in my mind, and with the. That would be something I'd be real interested in looking into, and I have the professional expertise to kind of design some of these things. It would be pretty freaking cool, because here's the deal. Neil, this is a clinical thing. Like, I'm actually going to talk about a friend of mine who went to a therapist and had this designed as an activity for her to heal from struggles that she had. Right? So she was told literally by this therapist to go ahead out to like a garage sale and whatever and get a teapot set, get plates and cups and whatever is in this, and get a whole set and write messages on the set, such as the thing that she was dealing with clinically, the breakup from her boyfriend or the divorce that she had, or maybe it was a family issue. Honestly, I forget what issue it was that she said she had, but she wrote all these things out, and the therapist told her, go ahead and put a plastic sheet down, go into your garage, tape it down so that everything's safe, get goggles, whatever. I'm sure they had the suggestion, and just whip these things, one after the other into the garage as a major release, specifically fomenting it into the issue that you wrote about and that you were dealing with. I've shown or given assignments for people to take lemons or apples, same thing, just pegging a tree, and just there's something about that release. A really good example related to trauma. There's a lot of body energy that you have in your body when you have a mental health kind of reality, particularly if something's chronic. Sexual abuse, we're going to talk about tonight. With This Will Not Defeat Me. After sexual abuse is a video experience that we have. We didn't talk about it in that video experience, but another activity that is known to release body energy, this training was talking about finding a physical movement. So I've told clients, just pay attention to physical movement. And when you're working out and doing push-ups, or if you find yourself in head motions, or pushing away from the desk when you get from work, any movement like that, pay attention to your body and what really feels good. And because the example this clinician gave at this training was a person that drove buses for school, and she went around in the wintertime and checked the bus, before she went off on a route. And she was working in therapy. She had sexual trauma, and she kicked the tire of the bus, and she's like, "Oh, that felt good," like that motion. And so they developed this routine, and she would kick the tires when she was stressed out on her bus, circling around her bus, and it was very rewarding for her. And she did this daily. It was very healing. Now, why is that significant? Because when she found that specific and particular body motion, that may have been related to emotional trauma that her brain and body stored up, when she wasn't able to kick somebody off of her, right? So your body actually totally remembers with emotional memory what happened to you and what it smelled like, what it felt like. And when you find healing motions and movements and all of that goes in it, I mean, there's a lot. I could keep on going on, but there is a lot of reality to physically discharging energy that you have in your body. And if we were able to do that regularly, like you were talking about, Neil, I budged a little bit of my brain on a membership, Adam, about like, oh, that's different. Hey, I might like a membership if I have somewhere that I can really discharge my week's energy before I go home and do a psychological displacement on my dog. That's a psychological defense mechanism.
Let's do a show in
It's a lot there. It probably is a worse show. You can tell. I got a lot of thoughts about it.
No, I'm talking about a show in a rage room, not on a rage room. Seriously.
Well, wear the body shield as while someone else
we'll have a shield. When
Go on site.
All right, it's Chris's turn now.
The room might not make it. No, I'm just kidding.
You'll have to check the comments. Cass is chiming in on this one.
Boy.
Her perspective's interesting. She doesn't agree with the rage room. She thinks it's juvenile and gives permission for ridiculous behaviors. There's better ways to handle anger, not through destruction. And then she also came back and said she got really mad one time and threw a dining room chair against a wall and put a big dent in it and felt bad. But no, I think you need to be constructive with it, because just like in anything else, sometimes it could promote a behavior that you don't actually address what's going on behind it. Just like anything else, you need to address the stuff behind it instead of just, I just want to go there to break stuff.
But when you do something like to break something and you get your stress out, it makes you feel better.
It really does.
Could that not be rewarding your body into thinking I need to be upset about something again so I can get that reward?
It is not like a dopamine kick that is damaging or addictive in the addiction kind of parameters, I don't believe. I mean, it operates in a different wavelength. There are people that are like, you see personalities that are thrill seekers or adrenaline junkies. I don't know that
it could be the same thing. I don't know.
Well, I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing. It's probably something that a rage room per se would be more important for them, because thrill-seeking folks, and I've got a little bit of that. I'm an adrenaline junkie. I like, to do fun, different things. We went skydiving for my 40th birthday. I mean, I have total desire to go massive spelunking in really an unexplored cave. That would be great. And I really want to go out west to do what's it called?
The slot canyons.
Slot canyoning, yes. Oh my God,
I'm not familiar with that.
Amazing.
There's canyon trails or trails in the Grand Canyon where it's very, very narrow and you're going through it, and you're basically you go into it and then you can pretty much have to work your way through it. You ever gone splunking like at some of the caverns like in Kentucky or West Virginia, and you literally, like, I've gone with my family, and there's spots you barely squeeze your way through, and there's this excitement of like barely fitting, and you make
getting
it
stuck.
getting stuck.
Can I make it?
Yeah. There's that to me seems like a wonderful outing. Like I would love to.
So you're agreeing with the rage room thing?
I really am. I'm actually excited about the concept. I didn't know that this is probably the best rabbit hole ever. I want to just stay here because it's fun to talk about. And honestly, I think we probably do need to do a show on rage rooms, and I need to research it a little bit and see what's going on out there. And because I think that I love how mental health is becoming more and more culturally aware. Like we have, psychobabble in our regular lingo. Right. We have an awareness about mental health being like more okay to talk about. And it's funny. I could see how people would see this as juvenile and odd because we have a suppression culturally, particularly in the States. I don't know.
Not show you're angry about something.
Don't let them see you sweat.
Yeah.
Don't show your anger. Sex is a bad thing. We don't do it. We don't have it. We're not supposed to like it and want it. We don't do killing. We don't kill for our animals. We just somehow have it show up on our plate. There's these weird things that are a normal part of human reality that we've gotten so far from that gives our psyche weird. It's a dichotomy.
So you saying it's like a need?
It's a dichotomy because it's a part of the human emotional experience, but it is suppressed and denied. Anger is a great emotion. It will keep you alive if you think about why we have it.
Yeah.
Adrenaline is an amazing feeling when you can run. You can run faster, think quicker, hit harder, lift more. It's necessary.
Not hurt until tomorrow.
Maybe that.
That's when you get older. That's not adrenaline. That's just an age thing. Yeah. But no, I'm also thinking about people who shoot guns for the first time. That explosiveness, that power band. Because I love watching those people that like anti-gun control.
Right.
And then they take them to a gun range, and you watch these people kind of like, well, whatever. I'm not going to go into that. But they shoot guns for the first, and you just see their eyes open. They're like, that release, like that explosiveness.
That's interesting.
Which is interesting because I don't know if I'd do a rage room because I have this weird issue about like just that chaoticness or breaking that loud piercing. I'd rather go to a gym and hit like a punching bag versus a rage room.
Well, it's something that we need to be able to do. I'm glad this came back in my head. Boy, Adam, you hit a gold mine here because I got a lot to say. Like really. So I watched a show. Navy SEALs were doing a training, and they just took like famous people out to do this training. It was a recent sort of live TV or real life TV thing. Did you see that by chance? You shook your head like
No.
you did. I forget the name of it. They set up like a training course that was based on things you would get military training with. Okay. And it was sort of a lot of ropes course kind of stuff.
Right.
But it was pretty dramatic. Like they were walking over a ravine and doing some things like this. And you had to really create courage or create confidence. It really challenged you to fight through your fears. So interestingly enough, people are afraid of anger. They're afraid of allowing themselves to express the anger that we have. That's a real thing. And so it was interesting because they set up one of these training exercises where the Navy SEAL instructor is all dressed up in the protective gear, like you can't hurt them, basically. And the participants are instructed to run around the corner and fight and attack, and draw out your rage to hit this person repeatedly and attack them, essentially to kill them. And then on command, immediately to stop. And it was really, really interesting to see people afraid to allow their anger to be expressed, and then the process of immediately stopping that and then corralling and managing your emotion with it.
I wonder, did anybody like keep on hitting? They're like, stop.
Yeah, no, but sort of.
I mean, I can see that.
There's a little bit of that because
Yeah.
it's like crying. Like people tell me sometimes a lot of different situations. Like, look, honestly, I'm afraid to cry because if I start, I won't stop. because we've pent up that emotion so much, and we need to be able to let that anger out. We need to be able to let that emotion out and do it in a controlled, responsible, and safe manner. It's when you suppress it, it bottlenecks, and when it explodes out, it's an ugly sight sometimes.
And I'm thinking with the rage, I was thinking about like the idea of like some of the medication that people give for like ADD, ADHD, those types of things. And you've talked about that's a tool or a piece of it. And because what I think of the rage movement as another tool. When you have a suppressed anger, you need something to allow you to kind of get past that initial overflow.
Yeah.
And then once you kind of go for the first couple of times, you're getting it out. Now you can now manage it a lot easier. Where like when you have people like my stepdad will have to take medication because he's always working, and sometimes he just needs like that Ritalin to slow him down enough that he can then process and handle it. And so the rage room, if you use it correctly, because she talked again, Cass also commented again. But I think
I got her going.
I think it's really important because if you don't know how to react to it, you have to have a controlled situation that they can deal with that overflow or that flood of emotions, and then it might be 2, 3, 4, 5 times before they finally get to where like, oh, okay, now I know how to process it, now I know how to handle it because I've basically pushed myself so hard that okay, I'm done with that initial.
With Google, because I would be really curious what it like. I want to go home and Google this up and
he's going to continue the rabbit hole.
I want to continue the rabbit hole to see if there's anybody that could present a psychological study of any merit that would be against it.
Okay.
I'm willing to say I would be very surprised if there's somebody
I bet you there is.
Psychological community that can demonstrate that.
I bet you there is.
Be surprised if there were. We got a good weekend coming at them. We got a good weekend conversation coming up. All right. What are we doing? Oh, I have a current event that I wanted to do also. So I'll be brief with this because the you sell your data. The current event actually is something that we've done sort of before, I think. But it's one that I love being able to bring out with examples more and more and more of this happening, and it has to do with social media. So just think about the implications and the realities that this little situation that I'm going to describe creates. Because this is pretty common and replicated over and over and over again, and will be more so, I think, as we move forward. And I submit to you early on here, in my opinion, that this is really societally problematic. Okay. And I have permission from this person that this happened to recently. I'll share it broadly, so I'm not breaking any confidence of his, but he said it was okay to share it in a way that gets close to being it, so you can understand. So he's going through a separation, moving towards a divorce now, okay? And they have boundaries of, I guess they're moving into like it's okay to date, other people in that realm. But even that, if it's laid out or not, can you imagine this still happening? Because he took a trip to another country, as is his family's tradition. And he met somebody, and he dated, and they exchanged names and numbers, and they've been talking, just like the kids say, right? We're just talking. Well, they were dating and whatnot, and this was a private matter. He wanted to keep it, to himself. And he's on Facebook, and Facebook is doing their algorithm shit.
I know where this is going now.
Right?
Yeah, I know where this is going. Yep.
And this is happening all the time. Go ahead and take it. I'm curious.
No. I know where you're going.
Because you know where I'm going. You've seen it happen.
Yeah, I know what story you're talking about now.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you about it because it just found out.
I'm talking about the Facebook thing. I know. Go ahead.
Yeah. Because the friend suggestion algorithms in Facebook sent this woman's thing to my guy's separated wife, and is like connecting them, to make friendship on Facebook, thus enabling and opening up interaction, for if they would so choose to do so. Facebook's connecting an ex-wife with a new girlfriend in their anatomical process of algorithms with friend requests. That's bad. Like, that's particularly if you don't have agreements to date, and Facebook's doing that, or if you have new experience with this, it's all kind of messed up when somebody else is actually taking this and creating a scenario.
Well,
for
the whole
people.
goal was to make it think like a human, right?
I just see so many implications with this, and it's not what we need to do as a society, setting up these things where people are having their privacies infringed upon in that
Right.
sort of a dramatic way.
I mean, I agree.
creating emotional distress unnecessarily. It's crazy to me.
I agree, but I'm still saying, but that's kind of what the whole purpose in all these platforms is kind of make it where it thinks like a human, reacts like a human.
Starting to
Yep.
be. Starting to
We won't
be.
go into AI yet.
Well, but I think here's the issue with a lot of this, the technologies is it's all data driven. And that's one of the concerns with AI is that once you set your criterias, the system just does what it's designed to do without any forethought or ideas. Because if you think about it, if it was a human doing that, they'd be like, "Oh, correlation. I know they're separated. I'm not going to introduce her." The technology and the social media is like, "Oh yeah, there's commonalities here. Let's connect them." And all it is just doing what it's designed to do without ramifications or thought process of the human side of it.
The human emotional experience, right?
Right. Yeah, and so I think it's a big problem too, because you do get rid of a lot of those things. It's like the Target who basically the daughter was looking for different products. Come to find out with the algorithm, they were looking at how they did it. They sent coupons for like baby stuff to the house. Well, come to find out, the dad found out that his daughter, I think it was either his daughter or his wife, was pregnant before they knew they were pregnant, just because of the analytics and the way the systems work and the intelligence, without the intelligence of, oh, maybe we shouldn't send baby products to our house if they haven't officially said, so there's those weird things. Like, it's a smart tool. It's very great in what it can do. The technology is amazing, but
and it's creating emotional problems, I think, with people. Is this where the story you were thinking about, Adam? Or
Kind
is
of.
it? Yeah. Right. So I'll get off of. We got other things to get to with our shows this month, but dude, like that was to me. My mind just wonders with this new reality we're facing, and I'll remind you again. Like, look, we really as a human race across the world do not have any idea emotionally. Like, our systems emotionally do not know how to handle this stuff. It is not anything that humans have dealt with before, and it's changing and so rapidly and creating. What did John from the show, I think last month, talked about? We're living in the age of anxiety.
Yeah, it was a couple weeks ago, but he taught about and it was like that hit spot on.
It is spot on. Yeah. Okay, so let's get to the shows. We really had weird timing this month. We had like a long month last month, and then we brought you in, Adam. We did the month in review a week later, and then we got jacked up on a week. So it's kind of been a weird month for our crew. As a matter of fact, I was talking to Victoria in the office today, Neil, and she's like, I haven't even done a show in like a month. We really haven't had Victoria around for a month. So it's strange. Which one do we do first, I guess, Neil?
Technically, the 233 actually was YouTube Live first, I think, because you scheduled it with your pastor, and then we did 232 with the "Those Will Not Defeat Me" was aired afterwards.
Oh, that's right. The order
it was even
messed
weirder.
up.
Yeah, because trying to schedule with Davos for his, because he was
Yeah.
out of town, which we weren't expecting, and then you already had the one lined up with your pastor. So that was the other issue with this month, was trying to coordinate with the two other guests.
That was so awesome to have my pastor on.
That
was awesome.
The dynamic with John Nelson and your pastor was definitely an interesting, because you have these old school guys that have been doing it for so long.
Yes.
Similar but different. The
Presbyterian
back and forth.
minister and a non-denominational pastor talking about, the parallels between religious teachings and mental health suggestions. I thought was really, pretty amazing. Off the cuff, Adam, I'm curious what the layman would think when a posed question is put out there. Are there parallels? What are the parallels? Where does this intersect? Do you see this as a contradictory thing, mental health and religion, or do you see this as a complementary reality between mental health and religion? What say you?
I see that there are like similarities. It's kind of like religion and science. It's kind of it's an explanation of things. So I mean, I can see how they're kind of related, and I can see where maybe one can like lead to the other. Is that what you mean? Or
well, I mean, whatever direction you take it, because honestly, well, what do you think, Neil? What came out was is it complementary or contradictory? More complementary with each other or more contradictory to each other?
I think if you look at the root of a lot of religions, I think it's more complementary. But I feel like as we've had the episode about religious trauma, a lot of the stuff in practice, it seems like it really does butt heads in how that it's designed or enforced. But in when you look back at the root of it and what the purpose of a religion is, I think it's very complementary. But once again, it's humans have changed it. People abuse the systems. People change their perspective on it. There's all these things that happen that has made it appear very contradictory.
How did Ray talk about this? Do you remember, guys? He was kind of like, well, this goes back all the way to the philosophies and where we mental health kind of started in the Far East philosophers bringing in their a philosophic thinking and how that ran aground or ran against the religious orders of their day. And then of course we got into the psychology realm with Freud. I feel like he was talking about that. Do you remember? Is in the beginning, kind of in the beginning of our conversation, I feel like.
I'm trying to think because they went down so many rabbit holes in
they
their
really
conversations.
Did.
And
that was one big rabbit hole game, Adam.
Right, and like you said, you talked about with your show notes. It was pretty much just like you just basically said, "All right, John Nelson, Ray, here's a topic, go." And I think part of the thing that's kind of interesting about mental health is that when it comes to the whole thing is like religion gives you, and that John Nelson talked about this before, religion gives you an outside focus that kind of allows you to, or an outside purpose. Let me rephrase that. An outside purpose outside of just yourself with a lot of the things, whether, Ray talked about marriage and that outside focus, the outside perspective or reasoning behind it. Like there's a thing that kind of helps you kind of eye on the prize kind of thing with a religion or the idea of a higher being or higher purpose, which is one thing John Nelson has mentioned before.
Yeah, John, that was cool that he added that, which I like to highlight because that was a recent learning thing for me. And what just to highlight that for a moment, I would always kind of suggest to people in my therapy realm, the order of priorities helps us to understand how we prioritize ourselves in relationship to other people. And they did, Ray confirmed it, that generally our order of thinking operates. And what I would tell people in therapy, God at the top of the list. And I would say, if God's not in your realm or religion, then fine, self is at the top. So God, self, then your spouse, then your kids, in those orders, move down to family, then friends, and then work being the last. And we've talked about that on the show before many times. But John added, interestingly, and has changed my spiel with that with people, that I say God at the top of the list. And if religion isn't a big factor for you, then a cause greater than yourself does need to be the highest emotional priority. And I thought, wow, that is something that I will add for the rest of my career and actually life. So a cause greater than yourself, or God.
Is that in the new book?
Your creator, then yourself, then your spouse.
Or it'll be in book 3.
That's an interesting question.
If it's not, it needs to be in book 3.
Need to put that somewheres.
Yep.
Need to put that somewheres. It will be fresh content reviewing the self in the marriage book, looking back at the first book. I haven't figured out how I want to lay that out yet, but since August is my deadline, I'm not going to be doing a whole lot, I can tell you, with the original self stuff. That's going to have to wait for a later writing project.
I was just trying to make you procrastinate so you could be a loser.
pile it up, make it harder. So I really felt like this thing was parallel because of my Christian beliefs and my psychological knowledge. I've married them for so long. Literally during that conversation, Adam, I was surprised to hear as much angst as Ray suggested is out there where people differ in that it's contradictory to each other, mental health and religion. Like there's this big grinding.
Kind of like rage rooms.
What?
You know,
There's conflicting
there's
opinions.
probably a
That's all I'll say.
there's probably a themed rage room with a bunch of
Religiously
stuff.
themed rage room. Wow.
But
Interesting.
and I think it's a societal thing. There's a whole breakdown of the structure that has built society. That society in itself has made religion such a negative, contradictory thing to your mental health.
I'm like naive. I feel like I've had my head under the rock because I don't. That's not in my realm, man. I was surprised by that. I was genuinely kind of surprised that was, a thing.
So what if the rage room has like different things that will be a token, so to speak, of each religion, and then somebody decides, well, I want to crush that one. I'm just saying.
You are trying to build controversy
I'm
into
trying
the
to say
rage room
it's
reality.
going to happen. It's going to happen.
That would be a very interesting thing. That
It's
would be
going to
very
happen. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. Then you're going to have people who's going to have
National shootings at the rage rooms. We're going.
or you're going to have them where
CNN.
they're going to say, well, there's a
Fox
rainbow.
News.
I want to, I mean, anything. Seriously, it's going to happen. Trust
Listen,
me.
here was the 3 questions for the religion show that we did. How similar are religious teachings compared to mental health suggestions? Are there any major glaring areas of difference between religious beliefs and mental health knowledge? And do religious people, air quotes, consider mental health? I didn't finish all my thing here. What did I say on the show? Oh, dear. The 3rd question, I just screwed up. Do religious people consider mental health to be, if I remember off of memory, like bad or negative or against them or something like that? I forget what I had in my original show notes.
You have to go back to the original show.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Neil's going to help me out. Do you have it?
No, the original notes cut short too.
Did the original notes cut
Yeah.
short also?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep, good job.
I screwed
But
up.
you can go back to the original show and rewatch it.
I don't know. It's probably screwed up the original show.
I don't even know if he covered I
I
said,
may
it was
not
kinda,
have, because it was really cool having Ray on us, and I think that was a lively conversation. I think religion is such a what word, right? Like it gets people really engaged in thought and discussion, opinion and controversy.
That's a very
It's engaging,
light way
man.
to put it nowadays.
People get pissed.
Yeah, we talked about that before. You used to not talk about religion or politics, or what was the whole thing you used to not talk about?
Sex, religion, and politics.
Right, and honestly, to me, it's like politics has become number 1 with religion still second.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, it's the thing about religion is it's become so ingrained in us, whether it's you're religious or anti-religious, because that's almost a religion in itself to be anti-religious. But going back to those questions, I think a lot of religious teachings are very similar to what we talk about in mental health, because it is about focus. It is about, finding ways to help other people. There is something in there when you read a lot of the teachings. There is a lot of it about how do you manage yourself or maintain yourself.
Well, what was cool is Ray actually the idea of the show was we were going to talk about our last show and then have Ray talk about his religious perspective on it. And then he was going to talk about he started a podcast, his show and topic. We ended up doing it on his current sermon series, and we were going to comment from a mental health perspective on it. And his current series that we're still doing at our church is Happiness 101. I mean, how is that not parallel to what we talk about or deal with in mental health? And he's talking about the different religious backing and the Sermon on the Mount and how being blessed is different than just being happy, and the things that the Christian, at least the Christian belief system, operates for and with us as higher level. I mean, it's very parallel to how do you deal with happiness? How do you deal with being well? How do you manage the emotions that you have? And I don't know. I feel like there's super strong parallels. And science usually helps us to confirm the religious beliefs that are out there. I don't think many science findings differ directly with what religious teachings.
Well, that's what religion is a way of trying to explain things. So they should have parallels.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. About us and how to operate. So, I don't know. Moving on, I think we need to move on to the next one. This will not defeat me after sexual abuse. Listen. If you didn't catch that show, you really need to check that one out, because this is a video experience that we've created, Adam. And I don't know, did you get to catch Chris Davos's sexual abuse story?
I figured it had something to do with that other project you had.
He drops it, man. He drops it down for people, and it's such an honor to work with him, because he is a man's man, 25-year police veteran, big dude, African-American fella. Can I say that? Because in that race, black men or Hispanic men do not talk about feelings and emotions much as the old school cultural reality. And he throws down a very detailed sharing of his sexual abuse and domestic violence that he lived through and endured as a kid. No bones and balls about it. It's just straight powerful. And we developed a whole program around, what do you do to manage, sexual abuse experiences. What do you say, Neil? I mean, creating this video experience, the show that we broke it out this month on, you were the producer of that project as well.
I mean, honestly, through the whole experience, I mean, just, I think the interesting thing was the rawness when Chris was telling his story when we were recording it was kind of interesting, to see him actually go through the reaction it put him through. But yet to understand the amount of work he's put in to get to this point to deal with that.
Right.
That's what I don't think a lot of people maybe understand, that, yeah, he's talking about it. It seems like, yeah, it's just something he's worked through. But like, even in, like I said, even in the recordings, it still was affecting him. It was still. Right. And so you have to understand through this part, talk about the video experience, this whole thing is a journey of repair and reparation on yourself. Like, get yourself back to where you used to be. And it's not going to be a quick fix. It's going to be something that takes time, but you have to make that first step. And Davos a long time ago made that first step, and he started connecting what happened, and he started figuring out what to do. He reached out for help. He talked to people. Like, it's a long step to deal with trauma that he dealt with. And, kudos to him for what he's doing. The fact that he can tell people, the fact that he's going out there and putting himself out, like, this is amazing for him to do what he's doing.
Particularly as a dude. I mean, honestly, women have, and we talked about this in the show, the Me Too movement. You remember, you heard about that. And thank God we've got that reality that people have been able to come out and say Me Too. I know it's gotten in the news or in the world a little bit of controversy, women piling on, famous people or whatever. Listen, women being able to come to the Me Too movement and talk about something that happened to them is a huge step forward in positive mental health realm for an issue that is held silent and secret as it's forced upon victims and whatnot. And everything that I just said is triply so for men. Triply so for men. Thus, I would love to create a He Too movement and help people understand that, men are affected by this too. Adam, question in your circles and surroundings and travels and travails, have you ever come across anybody that has sexual abuse?
Yep.
You have?
Yep.
That was an easy, quick answer.
Sure.
I was actually expecting a no.
No, that person had problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think you know double-digit people? Because I'm going to jump ahead of you and say you probably do.
I'm sure I know double-digit people, but I wouldn't say that I know of that.
Right.
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 Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
It wouldn't. If we could just take a poll of
I work with
everybody.
1,200 people, man. I'm sure I know double-digit.
Yeah, and I'm actually talking about people that you actually know on a significant level of the 100 people in our circles. We have several people that have experienced some sort of sexual reality, and it is not just women. Can I say this clearer? The reality of this is that it is a male issue. Gosh, just as much, if not even possibly more. I might even make a crazy statement. So hopefully we're blowing up some myths and launching out into the world with a video experience that's really going to help people kind of recover from the sexual traumas that they've endured.
So is that going to be like a series, or how's that working exactly?
Go, Neil.
Has that been determined yet, or?
I think the goal with this will not defeat me is this is the start one. So people dealing with sexual abuse trauma, that's the first video experience. Then we want to create a second series on like first responders and the trauma they deal with. And the goal is we really want this to be an overarching platform for people and helping recover from different areas of trauma or different areas. So long-term goal is we want this to basically be a healing from almost any traumatic experience and help people get through those things. But right now it starts with this one because this is really what the opportunity gave to us at the beginning. And like I said, I think we talked about you guys pairing up again for the first responder because Davos was a police officer.
Yeah, ironically so.
So that's kind of the goal with that thing. Long term, it's bigger than just one course or one video experience.
And very much so. I mean, I call it a video experience. I think is the generation of my thought, Adam, because this is not like just as simple as a class that you take. I mean, it has actually. Do we ever research that, Neil? We need to be able to say how much airtime or viewing time is a part of this. For $300, just under $300, you get like 5 hours of viewing time or something like that, with a lot of direct assignments and steps that you could take and strategies that you have that are taught and we walk with you. It's not just like a class, right?
Well, and I mentioned before, I think it's like 25 plus videos.
Yeah.
And the thing that we talked about is like when you go to a therapy session, you don't go through and go to a therapy session. Here's 5 de-escalation techniques. We're going to walk through them right now. Right. The idea is that each video breaks down into something that you go through, you digest it, you process it, and then you're ready for the next. So you're kind of getting like 20 therapy sessions that you can then go back to and you can watch. So I think it's only like 2 or 3 hours of total videos, but like I said, the way we broke it down, because it's you talking, it's Davos talking, there's not a lot of back and forth, so we don't have that extra airtime. But the fact is, you get the videos, you go back to it, you work when you feel comfortable, you get to do it at your own pace, in your own home. And the goal with this is it's a open door, just like with Davos early on, to start that healing process, start going through these techniques, and then eventually get to the point where you can go see a therapist. You can open up to your friends. You can have that interaction with people that you know, and that's the purpose of this. But yeah, I mean, for what you get, how many therapy sessions it would take to cover all of this content?
Oh my gosh,
through it, and that's why we want this, because it becomes affordable for people instead of having to go through 10, 15, 20 therapy sessions and pay for it. Even if they have insurance, there's still all the other stuff that goes with it, and it's worth it just not dealing with your insurance.
I could, indeed. I can tell you as a therapist, all the things that are covered in a video experience like this that we've unpacked. I mean, it takes me such a long time in a therapy relationship to get to these things, because there's so much emotion and a reality of, that we're dealing with. And this is like, me and Chris Davos together, like with you, talking about what he experienced and what works with strategies and how to manage this and how to kind of take some steps, because a lot of the question I have is like, okay, well, I'm telling you, Chris, in the initial interview that I have sexual trauma. Now, what do we do? People do not have any idea what steps to take, and so this lays all of that out. So I'm super excited about this helping people and identifying in. So Neil, where do they go? Honestly, how do they get this?
You go to thiswillnotdefeatme.com. We do have it set up to where there is kind of a sample. So for free, you can sign up, get kind of some example what it looks like, what it's, start getting comfortable with it. If you're not ready to dive into the whole thing, there is a $30 like first part where you can start looking at it. And so the goal is, depending how ready you are,
$30.
You can start with the free sample to kind of see, is this really going to help me? Does this help me understand where I came from, what's going on, what happened to me? And then, like I said, I find the first one is kind of the first session, that $30 session is kind of preparing yourself to take this journey. It's really about, get yourself ready for healing, get yourself kind of prepped to start that. That's kind of how, when we've talked about, that's how I see this for how we broke out that first session, because it's so important to take that first step and start those pieces to start preparing.
Well, actually, the first step is the fire scene.
Yes.
We sit around a bonfire and identify like what's going on with sexual abuse. It was really theatrical. It was kind of well done, I think. Really
yeah,
neat.
there's it's funny. There's some new. Have you seen that new documentary come out that Jim Caviezel stars in for about child trafficking and whole stuff? There's
horrible.
Oh, that's a whole nother next level.
Yeah, but it talks, the abuse and those types of stuff. But it's becoming more commonplace because people are talking about these things, and it's becoming more prevalent how big of an issue these things are.
It's being identified.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's being identified. It has been running rampant in the human experience just so badly. And again, like, women were silent about this. There was not a way to even allow it to come out to talk about with people that and trust deeply. It was such a taboo topic. This is one of the last strongest taboo things in the whole of mental health and substance abuse that I deal with.
Well, like you said, the 3 things you don't want to talk about.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, so
and again, triply so for men.
Yeah.
Triply so for men. A man brings up any kind of sexual trauma or sexual weirdness that they endured, and it's like, oh, you're supposed to enjoy it. You mean to tell me you've got an older lady that had sex with you and you were a young man? Like, that's great, right? Oh, like, no, it really, really isn't when your school teacher is inappropriate with you as a pubescent boy. It's really bad. It's so crazy how, and Neil, to your point, it's changing. It's changing. It's starting to change just a little bit. And I'm excited about that. So if you have experienced anything with sexual abuse, I will speak to you directly and say, you will learn that this will not defeat me after sexual abuse. Thiswillnotdefeatme.com. You will learn with our conversations and Chris's sharing of his story. Chris Davos, courageous man, telling you what he experienced, that you're not alone with what it is that you went through. And also very much so that it was not your fault. We tell people that it's not your fault. We tell little kids, but we really believe I did something to create this, or doubt, that it was even sexual abuse. We sometimes look at things being something that I wanted or that my body responded to, like all of this. It was not your fault. You are not alone. And that there is help that you can do and steps that you can take to be well. So please, if you experienced, sir, out there, or ma'am, anything that's inappropriate in your history, or even that you wonder might be inappropriate with your sexual history, then explore it. Talk about this. Check out our video experience and begin, as Neil said, the first step, which is the toughest step to begin healing. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. So I don't know, man. How do we move from that? I feel like
To end the show, you're saying?
yeah. Well, like what do we say now? There's just a lot there, in being a part of this project, and I mean, guys, talking about this topic with so many clients over the years. I mean, it's a special thing when people come out with something so difficult to really begin dealing with it. It just gets me a little bit chilled, emotional. It's such an honor to talk with people about this when they just having not told anybody in their lives, what they've experienced.
I guess you can end it on like a good note.
People get well.
Well, you kind of wanted to mention it at a certain point, and without going in specific details, but we talked about for probably a couple of years now about actually doing shows not in the office. Nothing specific, but
oh yeah, can we get specific about this announcement?
No, I don't think we should get specific yet, but we've been talking about doing that, and I think that's ending the show on a good highlight there.
Yeah,
it's a possible good thing.
We're doing some cool things Through a Therapist's Eyes, growing the show and doing some neat and fun things, and stay tuned with us because we keep on creating ideas, and we need you to help us by supporting us and coming out and giving us the stars and the likes and all that kind of thing. Like we really want we really want to make a difference for you in your life. We really want to make a difference for you in your life as it relates to your human emotional experience. I mean, that's really what we're all about. So the human emotional experience, we endeavor to figure it out together. Closing thoughts, guys. Anything to add? They were 2 good shows in the month of June, but we're doing a whole lot more than 2 shows.
3 now.
Now 3. Closing thoughts, Neil?
When are we gonna go to our first rage room?
When are we gonna go to our first rage room? We might need to check that stuff out this weekend because that sounds fun. I can get some stuff off my chest. Adam, we'll see you, I guess, next week, guys. This is Through a Therapist's Eyes, and we do endeavor to figure this out together with you. The human emotional experience is such a powerful reality, and we want you to continue coming alongside with us to figure it out and to get well. If you have experienced sexual abuse in any way, reach out. Don't be alone. This will not defeat you after sexual abuse. Take care.